Today we celebrate the feast of St Augustine, who was the bishop and doctor of the church. Yesterday we have celebrated Saint Monica's feast, the mother of Augustine. When we celebrate the feast of St Augustine, let us try to reflect on his life and on his mission work. He was born in 354 in St Augustine in Africa, and he died in 430. His father was a pagan, but his mother was a devout Christian. In the early stage, his life was not so good. Then he was converted by Saint Ambrose, who was the bishop of Milan. So he took baptism, and he was a student of law, and he joined the seminary and became a priest after his conversion, after his baptism. Then what happened in his life? He wrote a beautiful book known as the Confession. So in that book, there is a famous quote, famous sentence. So this is, he has written, "You have made us for yourself, O God. Our hearts are restless until they find rest in you." So this is the experience of St. Augustine in his life. You have made us for yourself, O God, until they find rest in you. So he understood God made us for God himself. So we have been created in the likeness and image of God, to love him, to serve him, and to glorify him. So we are made for God's glory, God's sake, because God loved us. The creation is the love of God. Then, in the second verse, we find, they are restless until they find rest in you. So here we find the term restless. So our hearts are restless until we find God. So St. Augustine was a restless person. Sometimes people come and say to me, "Father, I am restless." Even you might have experienced, "I am restless." So most of the time, the restless life is known as the negative thinking, negative thoughts. But in the life of St. Augustine, the restless life became the most precious life. So his life was restless, peaceless, joyless, and there was no happiness in his life because his heart was restless, because he was feeling emptiness in his life. There was void. So what he was doing is, he was looking for God, searching for God, seeking for God. So he was feeling emptiness in his life, like restlessness. So his restlessness took him to encounter God, to discover God's presence in his life. So that is what we must have, restless life sometime. If we are not restless, I don't think we are going to seek the Lord. I don't think we are going to find or we are going to encounter God in our life. So we must have restless life, as St Augustine had restless. And we find also his mother, Monica, prayed 18 years for the conversion of St Augustine because he was not a good person initially. With tears, she was praying for the conversion of her son. So we need to also pray for those people, those who are restless, those who are going astray from the Lord. Then there will be one day for conversion. As we have come here to take part in this Mass, let us pray to the Lord that we may always seek Him. We may find Him in the Holy Eucharist, where Jesus is present and where Jesus is giving His life to us. Unless we find Jesus in our life, our hearts will be restless. Jesus Himself said, "Come to me, I will give you rest for your souls." People, those who are worried, overburdened, people, those who are labor, come to me, I will give you rest. We have come here to find rest in our lives with Jesus. May the good Lord bless us and help us to experience the true joy, peace, and happiness of the Lord in our life in this Holy Eucharist.